I'm not a huge fan of reality shows. Most of them either have concepts that I find so ridiculous that I can't enjoy them, or they just have elements that I personally don't find very appealing to me. So when I found out that GSN was creating a new reality competition show called Skin Wars, focused on body painters, I immediately thought the show was going to stink. And the promos for the show leading up to its premiere last night did little to dissuade me otherwise that I was wrong. So, after witnessing the premiere, was I correct in my assessment? For the most part, I'd say yes. Even though me and my girlfriend got a blast out of laughing at the show the whole time and making fun of people like Alabama Man, the show itself is devoid of anything that would be interesting even to a hardcore reality show fan. Most of what it does has been done on other shows better. It's sort of like what GSN did with Family Trade. Family Trade was an attempt by them to cash in on the pawn show business that was very big at that point and still is pretty big today. But they brought nothing interesting or unique to the table with their version, and it died quickly. Skin Wars is essentially the same thing. It's like Project Runway or RuPaul's Drag Race, ironically enough, with nothing to set it apart from those shows. Essentially, Skin Wars is this. 10 body painters, many of them full-time, but there was at least one part-timer, come to LA to compete for $100,000 in cash, a year's supply of paint, and other stuff to make their body painting business grow. And with such luminaries on the cast as Gear, Felly, Mythique, was it Mythique? I'm not really sure, and Dutch. You know, these characters, if they are characters, are pretty weird people. And some of them came across as looking very weird, like they were rejects from an Elvira special or something. Anyhow, the 10 body painters gather together, and then we get to meet our host, Rebecca Romaine, and the judges. First off, let me just say that Rebecca Romaine brought very little to the table as host. It's similar to Natalie Grant on It Takes a Church. Natalie Grant's role could have easily been handled by somebody off screen. I think Rebecca Romaine is just a slight step above Natalie Grant. She basically is just there to look pretty in a tight-fitting outfit if possible and say her scripted lines. She really didn't come off as really genuine about what she was doing. And then we get to meet our 3 judges, 2 world champion body painters, and RuPaul, because apparently Drag Race wasn't enough for him to get off on. After we meet our host and judges, we then get to the first competition of the show, which was to make a body painting inspired by the look of LA and Hollywood. We then get to see our master airbrushers create stuff that really on the surface you gotta wonder in a lot of them how that was inspired by Hollywood. A lot of the designs, yeah, they came off as very creative, but at the end of the day they just came off as strange as opposed to being truly breathtaking. Now, I'm no expert on body painting, so don't think that I am the be-all end-all. But the way you get people to watch your competition show, like a Project Runway or something like that, is to have stuff that looks breathtaking and unique. And a lot of this just felt like it was cliches being put on a nude canvas. Don't worry though, GSN did blur out the boobies and all that, so you didn't actually get to see bare body parts. At least not without paint on them. We then have the judges deliberate, and they decided on a winner, and the winner got an extra 30 minutes for the second challenge, which was to paint something inspired by your hometown. This led to such wonderful creations like the guy from Vermont creating a Catwoman with a Loch Ness Monster on the back. Because, Vermont has sea creatures like that everywhere. What is it with GSN in Vermont, anyway? Family Trade was in Vermont, and they have cannibals feeding pigs bacon and sausage, basically. And now we got a guy painting the Loch Ness Monster on the back of a woman. Very strange. And, yeah. They spend 5 hours painting these images, a lot of which I had to ask, what do they have to do with their home city or their home state or whatever? They were all a lot of them were very, very strange. And the person who won the first competition, in this case Dutch, got to have an extra 30 minutes to take care of what he wanted to do. And afterwards, they got to walk the runway, so they did their best impression of Drag Race there, showing off their body art. And then we picked a winner, and then the person who went home, in this case being Alabama Man. Overall, it was very formulaic. Even if you get past the fact that they're doing something with body art, which to me just doesn't seem that appealing, you just have nothing new to offer in the genre. We've seen competitions like this before. We've seen challenges before. We've seen the eliminations before. There's nothing fresh offered here, except for the concept of body painting. And after you've seen them airbrush and paint on a naked woman, and it was all women, for 20 minutes, you basically have seen the whole show. So that's the major problem here. It's just too derivative. Too similar. Rebecca Romijn, like I said, offers very little in terms of what she does on the show. She's there to look pretty and say a line or two here or there. Otherwise, useless. Although I doubt an expert host could do anything with this show. The judges weren't too entertaining. There was one part, and you've seen it in all the previews if you've seen them, where RuPaul chastises one of the contestants for crying. Well, I'd cry too if somebody who's not in a dress right now was saying that my body art sucked, basically. Another problem, and I had this with their previous reality effort, is that they did very little to establish the personality of the characters they brought in. They gave them a brief intro at the very top, and then, basically, the only person that they developed any character for was Dutch, our Guy Fieri lookalike. And they established him as a prick. Otherwise, they did nothing with anybody else. There was not much character development. There's no reason right now to give two craps about who wins or who loses. And that is very dangerous on a show like this, because you need to give people a reason to cheer or boo somebody. And other than Dutch, you haven't done it yet. Now maybe down the line they might be able to develop that character. But that's what the scenes at the little place where they shack up in between shows should be. And it was barely used in this episode. They showed it for maybe 5 minutes. They showed the characters talking a little bit, and they showed them drinking. There was a lot of alcohol in this episode. It appears that the people behind Hidden Agenda must have been behind this, because there was a lot of drinking between the body artists, the judges, and the host. Frankly, I wished I had some of their champagne with my girlfriend as we sat through this hour. Although we had a blast, because we just were making fun of it left and right with Alabama Man and all other kinds of jokes. It was like Mystery Science Theater 3000. Basically, to sum it all up, Skin Wars is yet another example of why GSN should not jump into the reality show business. They simply are not meant to have a piece of that pie. They are too willing. They're too willing to be able to follow a trend rather than start a trend. And as a result, all the reality efforts look pretty weak and pretty boring. There was nothing there to sustain this show for an hour. And I don't think you're going to see it down the line. The fans consistently tell GSN that their reality efforts are not worth it. And yet they keep trying to do it. And I don't know when it's going to sink into the people in charge that it's just not meant to be. Your best shows, like The Chase and Bible Challenge and shows of that ilk, have been traditional game show based and clearly do not have any reality elements to them. Which is why I think their next show, which I'll review next week, Idiot Test, might actually be a lot better than what I witnessed this week. In short, do not turn this show on. There is nothing here that would keep you interested for anything more than 10 to 20 minutes at best, because there's no character development, there's no personality really shown other than Dutch being an asshole. There's no interesting art. A lot of the stuff just looks freaky and weird. And in short, all this has been done before, much better elsewhere. If you want to have a competition show, turn on a Project Runway or anything but this. I just hope to God that eventually somebody gets the message at the network. Stop doing reality.